Is Justin Baldoni clearing his name, or is he further smearing Blake Lively's name? As you know, if you were with us last Thursday, we covered Blake Lively's complaint accusing Justin Baldoni and his production company, along with Jamie Heath, of sexually harassing her during her time on a movie set, and that they had to agree to her stern demands in order for her to finish the movie that they were working on. And Justin Baldoni, he does something a little bit strange to me. Instead of responding to her complaint, which I mean, I guess it makes sense because her complaint wasn't really out yet. Instead of responding to that, he decides that he's going to file his own lawsuit, but not against Blake, really, but against the New York Times. And that's who he really has a problem with, rather than Blake Lively, the person that allegedly said the things about him. And now I'm going to just start off on the live stream because I know y'all like to get feisty in the comments and feisty in the chat. I don't have a horse in this race. I don't care either way it goes. We are just here to read the complaint. Of course, they are all allegations and shade, and we like allegations and shades, and we love to give our opinions on things that we cannot afford to give our opinions on here on our little corner of the YouTube. If you are new here, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe. If you're watching on the live or the replay, definitely hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'm going to go ahead and drop a poll in the chat for y'all to decide throughout the live stream. I would say to wait a little bit until we get into the complaint before you make your vote. But I want to know whether you guys think that Justin or Blake is the liar in this case. And so y'all know we are live. If you are watching on the replay, you can go ahead and drop it in the comments. If you are watching live, make sure you vote on the poll. So let's go ahead and post the question. It is Justin or Blake telling the truth? Your options are Justin is honest, Blake is honest, truth lies somewhere in the middle, and they both are liars. So y'all got to let me know whether y'all think that Blake is telling the truth, Justin is telling the truth, or they both suck, or they both are partially telling the truth. And I would have to say, in reading this, I kind of think they're both a little bit of whiny babies, you know, and not to diminish anything that Blake might have gone through on the set. If Justin is telling the truth, it makes Blake look like a whiny baby. If Blake is telling the truth, it makes Justin look like a whiny baby. But not only is if Blake is telling the truth, in my opinion, Justin kind of just looks like a whiny baby to me. But y'all can battle me in the comments because y'all have been doing it anyways, okay? And in the chat, let me know your thoughts on it as we go on. So I'm going to go ahead and share the stream, or sorry, Sarah. We're going to share the screen so that y'all can see the complaint, and let's have Bossy B actually bring us in. So where is Bossy B at on this thingamabob? All right, we're going to jump right in. And y'all let me know in the chat. People are already voting, and it is actually, it's equal. It's equal that they're both honest or they're both liars. The voting is so skewed, and we just got started. So let's jump in. This is Justin's lawsuit against New York Times, not Blake Lively, mind you, not Blake Lively, the one that is making the allegations about them. I'm going to have thoughts. I'm going to have comments as to what is the reason why he's suing the New York Times. I think it's because he's further smearing his name and trying to clear his name, but it comes off to me more as he's just smearing Blake Lively at this point. But y'all can let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments. So what is Justin Baldoni suing for? He is suing for libel, which is you lied about me in writing and posted it to third parties, obviously, because it is a publication. You painted me in a false light, and invasion of privacy, which that to me sounds like two different causes of action, but they have it all mixed into one. But y'all got to bear with me because I don't be practicing civil law like that. I do family law, so maybe it is all one, but it sounds like two different ones: false light and invasion of privacy. That's what I would assume it is, but I could be wrong. I haven't been to law school in a long time. Anyways, we got promissory fraud, which is a new one for me, so I'm interested to see what that one's all about, and breach of implied contract in fact. Breach of implied in fact contract. Now, I don't know what contract they thought they had. I know what they're alleging is the contract, but it kind of seems stupid to me. But either way it goes, they are suing for it. It is Wayfair, the production company that did the movie, along with Justin Baldoni, who is the actor and main focus of this complaint, in my opinion. Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Melissa Nathan, the agency group PR LLC, Jennifer Abel, RWA Communications, and Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc. Basically, everyone that Blake Lively ended up suing, they are now suing New York Times. Why New York Times? Because they're the one that publicized the what was it called? I can't even think of what it was called, but it was basically a complaint, but not a lawsuit. What is it called that she originally filed? They're going to tell us in a second. So they're suing them for the things that Blake said about them in the administrative proceeding that she was filing against them, and then she got the right to sue. Now, let's get into the introduction because it's very creative writing. I have to give it to the lawyers that it is very creative writing. Now, we have at 9:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, December 20th, 2024, New York Times reporter Megan Tohey, I hope I'm saying that right, requested plaintiff's response in an imminent 4,000-word bombshell story concerning their alleged orchestration of a smear campaign targeting Blake Lively, purportedly in response to Lively's disclosures of concerns about the working environment on the set of It Ends With Us. And like I said, she has since filed her own complaint. I thought that this came after her complaint, but it seems almost like it came before her complaint. Anyways, the film's production company, Wayfair, its principal, Baldoni, and Heath and its public relations representative, Nathan and Abel, were asked to provide on the record comment and to notify the Times of any inaccuracies by noon Eastern Standard Time the next day on December 21, 2024, a mere 14 hours overnight. Plaintiff's representative promptly denied Lively's accusations as reported by the Times and criticized both Lively and the Times' reliance on cherry-picked and altered communication stripped of necessary context and deliberately spliced to mislead. I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. So they're basically saying that the New York Times took Blake Lively's position, although they had all of these text messages that they were able to review. But we're going to read Justin Baldoni's and all of these people that are suing them. We're going to read their response and let me know if they actually answered the question, okay? They didn't really, in my opinion, we'll get into it deeper. In my opinion, they didn't really correct the facts. They just said she's a liar. That's all they said. That's all they said. That's what I'm going with. That's what I got from it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it when we get to it. Despite its claims to have reviewed these along with other documents, the Times relied almost entirely on Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative. And y'all are going to see that this complaint is very self-serving towards Justin Baldoni. I think it was a waste of time, but y'all let me know if it changes your mind at all on whether you think that Blake is the liar, Justin is a liar, or they're both liars, or they're both being honest to some extent. Okay. So let's see here. Her unverified and self-serving narrative, lifting it nearly verbatim while disregarding an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motives. But the Times did not care, given the breadth of the article and the coordinated drop. It is readily apparent that the Times had been quietly working in concert with Lively's team for weeks or months. The Times participated actively in the legal maneuvering at the heart of Lively's strategy. I don't get that line. They don't really go on to explain that further. They're just throwing out accusations that the Times helped Blake Lively in her legal pursuits. I don't know where they got that from. So if anyone in the chat knows where they got it from, let me know, because that was kind of wild for me when I read that. I was like, wait, what? Okay. Notably, Lively chose not to file a lawsuit against Baldoni, Wayfair, or any of the plaintiffs, a choice that spared her from the scrutiny of the discovery process, including answering questions under oath and producing her communications. This decision was no accident. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I could have swore that her complaint came out first, but also maybe they heard that let me actually check the date while I'm just talking. Let me stop talking and let me check the date in which it was filed instead of sitting here guessing while we are here on this live stream. Where are my downloads? Oh, Kimmy pulled it up for me. I believe she filed the administrative complaint first, then Baldoni sued in New York Times, then Lively filed the actual lawsuit. Okay, that's what I'm thinking happened, but it seemed like reports on her complaint came out before his. So that's why I'm a little bit confused, and I do still want to check the date. So thank you for that. Kimmy, let's see here. We have Blake Lively's complaint, and hers was filed on... Oh, the one I have doesn't even have a file date. So that is interesting. So I don't even know when hers was filed. Maybe it was leaked before it was actually processed. If anybody knows, let me know. I'm just going to check the date in which it was signed to see if we can get a closer date to it. So this was... Oh, would you look at that? I don't even see a signature page on her complaint. Wait a minute. I didn't even notice that previously. There is no signature on her complaint. What the heck? This is interesting, to say the least. Let me see. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just scrolling, trying to find what I'm looking for. And yeah, there's actually no signature and no date on her complaint. So is this is not the administrative filing, though. This is the actual... This is an actual complaint, but it doesn't say what court or anything. So is this not even filed? I think hers is not even filed. Y'all let me know. It doesn't have... It just says complaint for damages. It doesn't have a court. The court normally goes right here. And then if I scroll all the way to where it ends, there's literally no signature at the end of the complaint. Where is it? This is the end of the complaint. You see, it's finishing paragraph 203. No signature. That's usually where the signature goes. So is this the leaked administrative complaint or what? So, okay, I guess I proved myself wrong. Okay. Anyways, let's jump back into it because that kind of threw me for a loop. Let's jump back into it. For y'all that are watching live, we do have a poll up for y'all to vote whether you think that Blake or Justin is telling the truth, or if you think they're both liars, or if you think that the truth lies somewhere in between them. If you're on the replay, go ahead and drop that in the comment section. Okay, where was I at? They're calling her complaint self-serving. And they didn't basically fact check with her. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to catch back up to where I was at. Notably, Lively chose not to file a lawsuit against Baldoni, Wayfair, or any of the plaintiffs, a choice that spared her from the scrutiny of the discovery process, including answering questions under oath and producing her communications. This decision was no accident. First, her administrative complaint is rife with blatant falsehood and egregious misrepresentations that would have subjected her to dismissal if not sanctions. Second, pursuing a formal legal action would have derailed her true objective, an orchestrated campaign to rehabilitate her public image. I think they're both trying to rehabilitate their public image. After they both destroyed each other's public images, I think that's what's going on here, but that's just my thoughts and my opinions. I don't think she filed a lawsuit. Unless anyone has the actual filed lawsuit, let me know. But from the complaint that I have from Blake Lively, it's not stamped. It doesn't say what court it's in, and it's not even signed. So that in itself lets me know that it's not actually filed. I don't know, Kimmy, did you white it out or something? Because I don't. She did file the lawsuit. Okay, but whatever they got going on is not compliant with filing a lawsuit. So we'll have to figure out what court they filed in and when they filed it until we can figure out who filed their lawsuit first. But sounds like she either filed directly before he filed his or directly after he filed his in order to get the news all stirring, right? Okay, let's jump back into that. Instead, Lively filed a request for a right to sue letter with the California Civil Rights Department, and a procedural formality that does not require pleadings, remains confidential unless leaked as it was here, and crucially does not subject the complainant to discovery. While such a letter can precede a lawsuit, it is clear that litigation was never the ultimate goal. Her real intention was to weaponize the appearance of the legitimacy conferred by a number of legal documents to launch salacious headline-grabbing allegations that reshape her public persona as at the expense of plaintiffs. Lively found willing allies at the New York Times, which uncritically embraced her CRD complaint as fact and disregarded plaintiffs' emphatic objections without even waiting for the response deadline of noon Eastern Standard Time on December 21, 2024. The Times rushed to publish its inflammatory article, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine," at 10:11 a.m., nearly 2 hours early. The brazen disregard for journalistic integrity and fairness resulted in an article rife with inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and omissions. If I recall correctly, they published it after they received the email from Justin's team, but I cannot recall off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. We'll get into that later to see if I'm actually accurate on that. So the thing about what I think Justin is not understanding is he wants everyone to believe his truth, but Blake told her truth, and it sounds like the Times agrees with her truth. And I would agree that some of the messages do make Blake look bad, but not of the messages that she produced. Of the messages that she produced, I think it accurately reflected the conversation. He can let them know the sarcasm behind it, but no one knows the sarcasm behind a text message unless you're the person sending and receiving that text message, not looking at it from an objective view. I would have never guessed it. I would have never guessed that those messages were sarcastic, as we're going to get into of what he's going to allege that they were sarcastic. So I believe they waited at least until after they responded. And like I said earlier, they didn't really explain why Blake was wrong. They just said, no, that's not right. And y'all should be able to figure it out. Y'all better figure it out. No, it's not right, and y'all should figure that out if y'all reviewed so many things. In an era where public trust in media has reached a historic low and legacy outlets are increasingly criticized as biased and agenda-driven, the Times has chosen to double down on sensationalism and oversimplified narratives. Rather than striving for accuracy and balance, it has prioritized hollow signaling over substantive reporting, further eroding its credibility and exacerbating the very mistrust it claims to combat. Now, I don't know any news article that tells both sides of the story all the time. I just don't know of any news article. So in my opinion, they're writing an article. They're journalists. They can take their own position, just like us on these channels on YouTube. We can take our positions. You can't then come sue and say, like in, let's say, Laura Owens' case, because we didn't agree with what she was saying, she wouldn't be able to sue us and say, I don't agree with what you're saying. Yeah, we get that you don't agree with what I'm saying, but I am following the lawsuit, okay? I'm not making lies about you. I'm not spreading lies about you. We're following the lawsuit and giving our opinions. Articles or news companies are able to do the same thing, as you hear narratives about whether CNN is accurate or Fox is accurate, right? They're going to have their opinions. They're going to review it and they're going to tell the story the way they see it. And they don't always have to see it your way, Justin. And that's what I don't like about this complaint. Like, we're going to get into it. He does call Blake Lively out for certain things that I'm like, okay, that looks a bit sketch towards you, Blake. But also, the messages that she did present, I believe, were accurately reflected in the lawsuit that she filed. Okay, so let's go on. The article's central thesis, encapsulated in the defamatory headline designed to immediately mislead the reader, is the plaintiff's orchestrated and retaliatory public relations campaign against Lively for speaking out about sexual harassment, a premise that is categorically false and even disproven. If the Times truly reviewed the thousands of private communications it claimed to have obtained, its reporters would have seen incontrovertible evidence evidence that it was Lively, not plaintiffs, who engaged in a calculated smear campaign. The complete communications demonstrate beyond question that plaintiffs had no intention of destroying or burying Lively through aggressive tactics. On the contrary, Baldoni consistently expressed his desire to avoid harming Lively and protect the film, but also recognized a legitimate need for public relation protection in light of Lively's false and damaging claims. And then we get into all the hearsay, all the self-serving hearsay. The same thing he's accusing Blake of doing, he is literally doing. The reason why I think that Blake Lively's messages that she presented reflected accurately what was being said is because they were messages coming from Nathan and his team. Sorry, not Nathan, Justin and his team. What Justin presents to us is messages coming from his team trying to prove that they were not trying to do a smear campaign. And not only are they coming from his own team, which would be self-serving and considered hearsay and not admissible in court, okay, unless it falls under an exception, and I don't think any of these fall under an exception. Not only that, they also come after the date in which he hired them to do the smear campaign, which was pretty clearly spelled out in Blake Lively's complaint. And they don't ever contest, like, okay, at the beginning of the month, we were trying to smear her name, but then we changed our mind once she started smearing her name on her own. Like, you literally could have said that and they didn't say it. They just, like, 3 weeks later, they're talking about, oh my gosh, she's screwing herself over. Guess we don't have to do anything. But you're ignoring the fact that you originally hired them to do the smear campaign, or basically to make her look bad or to make himself look good, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay, so this is a message from his PR team or his whatever image consultant team. Says, good morning, sharing with you a perfect example of why we don't use bots. I wouldn't even worry to think they've hired a team as A, nothing to find, B, they hired an awful team, which I've sent to our guy to track and pull so we have evidence of it. This below should answer everyone's question on what a bot team looks like when every single comment suddenly skews in her favor in a nonsensical way. At least sprinkle them in. She needs to fire her bot team. How can we, and Justin says, how can we say somehow that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down. Melissa Nathan says it doesn't. They are doing all of this themselves and it's really obvious. And then she also says, this is bots. Justin goes on to say, okay, please monitor. Things I'm more worried about is that we are planting these stories, which is not true, obviously. But they originally hired this team to plant stories and to have people comment on his behalf. Let's not forget that. Jen Abel's old number said, chiming in here, the people saying that there are bots and this is a PR play is on your side is a minority voice compared to the thousands and thousands. And then they blocked out a bunch of information and then goes on to say, who are calling it what it is and redacting to Blake's own actions and interviews. We never want the action of the minority to dictate what we do on our end. We have to always look at the big picture, which is still enormously on your side. But I do see I want and need from fans to move on. People are commenting that they are bored with the many articles still coming out about this drama. When we move on, they do too. So we need to find ways to keep elevating not just the DV reaction, but also the other things in your life like family, being back home, and Wayfair. That's not tone deaf in my opinion, but sends a message that you are focusing on what really matters. And that's what will help with Blake's narrative too, in my POV. So now they're basically backing down, in my opinion, backing down from what they originally hired this team to do. They go on again. Jamie Heath is saying, so glad Blake was praised. Let her win. It would be nice to have a Sony executive praise Justin. Let me see. They're just basically sending articles back and forth to people. They didn't remove somebody or her old number from the chat, which is cool. Okay. The article is predicated on Lively CRD complaint, which references text exchange between Nathan and Abel as purported evidence that Nathan planted a negative story in the Daily Mail titled, Is Blake Lively Set to Be Canceled? Lively's portrayal is categorically false, misleading, and devoid of factual basis, yet knowingly endorsed by the Times, which claimed to have reviewed thousands of pages of text messages and emails. The smear campaign hinges on an August 16th text exchange in which Nathan allegedly shared a link to the article with Abel. The text exchange shows Abel responding, "Wow," followed by, "You really outdid yourself with this one," to which Nathan allegedly replied, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." These messages constitute the entirety of the purported evidence underlying the allegations of a smear campaign orchestrated on behalf of Baldoni. They go on to say these are the things that were included and not included. So they included the link, they included that conversation, but they say this is what was excluded. Heading to the airport, and there is a drive through the jungle that there's going to be no reception for around 24 hours. Joke, 45 minutes. What does that have to do with anything? The other thing that they say is left out. "I'm sorry, you bring offline for 45 minutes was not included in the scope. Unacceptable." How does that help your case? Why would the court need to see that? I think that was appropriately cut out. Why will we need to know that she's going to be driving through a jungle? Okay. The Times, however, was aware that these text messages were unscrupulously altered and selectively edited, enabling both Lively and her team and the Times to propagate a false smear campaign narrative designed to destroy plaintiffs, specifically in the immediate preceding text exchange on August 16th. Nathan forwarded a screenshot of a message from a reporter informing her for the first time the Daily Mail article. In response, Nathan wrote, "Dang, this is not fair because it's also not me," followed by, "Everything now looks like it's me," conclusively refuting her involvement in the creation or dissemination of the article. So, you want to say, that one's not me. I did that article, not this one. I don't see how that's helping your case. And then they put in the exclude, cancel, the mail is going nuts. Dang, this is unfair because it's not. It's also not me. Everything now looks like it's me. Maybe not to you. And then someone says, I guess Jen says, oh no. Yeah, Jen says, "No, it totally does look like his side." And then they excluded it. It says, "Cool, thanks." And then they included the picture. So again, using what they blamed Blake Lively of doing, using self-serving statements to say they weren't the ones that contributed to the article that Blake referenced. Okay. Again, I don't think this is that clear, but y'all can let me know whether you think it's clear or not. Further evidence of the Times complicitly arises from its apparent endorsement of the criminal alteration of these text messages by Lively. After Nathan forwarded a screenshot of the article link, Abel responded with, "You really outdid yourself with this piece," with an upside down smiley, adding, he is explaining to us, adding of the upside down smiley is indicated to indicate the sarcastic nature of her message. The upside down smiley emoji is commonly used to convey irony, sarcasm, joking, or a sense of goofiness or silliness. And then so they go ahead and highlight these messages that were in Blake Lively's complaint. Again, she included that. "You really outdid yourself," with the upside down, which could be sarcasm. But again, if you're not in the know, you don't know about these emojis, how would you know that's what we're referring to as sarcasm? Okay. So then they include, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." The next message, again, is about the not having signal for 24 hours, joking, 45 minutes. That doesn't help his case, in my opinion. In her CRD complaint, Lively deliberately excluded not only the preceding screenshot of the text exchange just proving Nathan's involvement in the story, but also the upside down emoji, which fundamentally alters the sarcastic tone of Abel's message and misleads the reader to interpreting her response as serious. Yeah, I think taking out the smiley face is a bit deceptive, but I don't think it disproves the message, Because who knows if that means sarcasm to them. Because sometimes I use that one because I'm annoyed, not because I'm being sarcastic. So I think it can mean multiple things depending on who's using it. This omitted context is critical as it demonstrates that each subsequent message in the exchange was similarly intended as sarcasm, including Nathan's statement, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Further review of the text message exchange also excluded from both Lively and CRD complaint. In the Times article, unequivocally shows that Abel and Nathan were engaging in a sarcastic and joking manner, as evidenced by the use of the ha-ha tap back reaction. When read in full, the exchange reveals Nathan and Abel engaging in facetious juvenile banter, not conspiring against Lively. The Times relied on Lively's CRD complaint and based solely on this exchange, intentionally duped readers into believing that Baldoni orchestrated a smear campaign purportedly using Nathan and Abel as his accomplices. Indeed, the Times, like Lively, misrepresented these communications to support its salacious and unfounded smear campaign narrative. This calculated distortion underscores the article's lack of credibility and its reliance on sensationalism over the substantive truth. Any negative press about Lively was unequivocally a consequence of her own actions. Even the Times itself acknowledged Lively's public missteps in an August 17, 2024 article titled, "It Ends With Us, the Press Tour Drama Explained." In it, the reporter Shivani Gonzalez observed Lively's promotion of the movie has included a push for her new hair care line, discussion of the clothes in the movie in response to the questions about abuse, which have been criticized as shallow and tone deaf. Baldoni, by contrast, has emphasized the importance of raising awareness of domestic violence and providing resources for those in a similar situation. So again, he's using articles to basically bolster himself and basically say that Blake Lively screwed herself over. They go on to say the interview effed her, like they did a bad job on the interview with her. Melissa Nathan says, also, what the F? Why am I in this too? They go on to say, you're a starlet, F this week. How was the stunt, winky face? So again, saying that they're not involved, but people basically assuming that they're involved. Lively's marketing efforts, which included encouraging audiences to grab your friends and wear floral while promoting her hair care and alcohol brand, were widely criticized as insensitive. This is particularly glaring given World Health Organization statistics showing that 55% of domestic violence incidents involve alcohol. Her actions naturally triggered organic public criticism and unleashed a cycle of negative coverage, including, as is common in the digital age, the resurfacing of old, unflattering content. Then this is their tag team. So this is Nathan's company, basically talking about the post. And again, if you were not supposed to be that involved in this, why do we have so many text threads talking about this stuff? Come on now. I don't know. So they go on to say, we didn't tell Jed to go after the idea that her promo was inappropriate. That happened organically. So you have told Jed to go after something, or you told somebody to go after it. You're saying, nope, that happened organically. Luckily, we didn't have to put our fingers in that. That's the way I'm reading that. Because people saw the actual movie and were like, wait, this is a movie about DV that they wore florals to. Zoe sent me this on Saturday and goes, this is a crazy way to market this movie. They go on to post another post and like, come on, we had nothing to do with that. Again, they hired you for a particular purpose. And it's almost like you didn't do the things that's making her look bad. So now you can kind of wipe your hand clean on what you originally intended to do, in my opinion. Far from being a product of the calculated smear campaign by plaintiffs, the backlash against Lively was the inevitable fallout of her own tone-deaf messaging and self-promotional tactics, amplified by her ability to read the room in addressing such a serious subject. I'm not going to go through all the messages that they had together. Tag team says, God, I'm so over. I am sure Leslie thinks we placed this one as well. My thing is, which ones did y'all place? Are we going to get to that? Which ones are you placing? Let us know what your actual job was. What was your actual intent in hiring this company? And then I think that will bolster your position. But essentially, you're starting in the middle, in my opinion. They're starting in the middle, but they're not explaining the messages from August 3rd and August 4th and July this number, right? They're not explaining those messages. They think we're doing this. Okay, they think you're doing this, but what did you actually do? I don't think they ever got to that point. Y'all can let me know if I'm wrong on that, but it does not seem like they ever get to the point of what was the intent of hiring this company. Was it just to make her look a little bit bad, or just, not that bad? The article also deliberately ignores that Lively publicist Leslie Sloan, the vision of PR, was once backed by Harvey Weinstein. Like, you throwing that in there is wild. Seeded stories critical of Baldoni, including that Baldoni was a actual predator, headed ahead of the film's release. Sloan did so even while Nathan attempted to cooperate in good faith. These are some messages between James Heath and Leslie Sloan, who was the PR team for Blake Lively. Let's see here. I didn't read these ones, so I don't know what they say all the way. James says, Brian, it will be easier to send you the screen recording of our conversation, which I scrolled through slowly in the conversation. You can see that Leslie bashes Melissa. Melissa tries to get me to say that Melissa was planning stories and bad-mouthing Blake. She also goes off calling Steph Jones a liar, and never once did she mention anything about the sexual harassment. Here is the screenshot recording. Again, you're basically saying, oh, please, I'm going to show you a screenshot recording, but not the actual screenshots. And this is my team saying that they're a liar. She told me that she did not like Melissa on multiple occasions. She also told me to blank who does not work with us anymore. She also asked about Steph Jones, who she was, what she did, where she worked, who she works with. She had called her a liar too in the text messages. Also, she has a history of lying. This is a clear example. She gave me information on stories about blank blank, the real reason that he got off stage during a performance. She gave me the info, reprinted the info, didn't like it, so she comes back and says the following. So he sent the screen recorded messages from Melissa, but they don't show those messages to us. James again says, many times she gives us information, then her client gets mad and she comes back and says that she never gave it to us and it's a lie. I had many conversations with her about Blake and never once did she say anything about sexual assault. I had 3-way calls with her and Melissa and she never said anything. Many times, there we go. About it then either. I hope this helps some way. If nothing else, it shows she doesn't like Melissa, and she tried numerous times to get me to say that Melissa was planning stories or that Melissa was bad-mouthing Blake after I told her countless times it was not the case, and she kept going. And so these, again, are text messages talking about Melissa Nathan, which is the PR team that they hired. And then whoever this is says, I'll call your boss. She's a piece of work. So they're trying to prove that they did not say these things and they did not spread these stories by saying that Blake Lively's publicist contacted them and they told her, again, this is like double hearsay, multiple layers of hearsay. They told Blake Lively's publicist that they did not plant the stories. And they told him that. So this is like double, triple hearsay that they're putting out. And I'm not going to read all the messages that they go back and forth on. They said, do you think you have sources? Blake Lively camp keeps thinking it's us placing and we are doing F all. And they're basically just saying it's not them. It's their team texting each other saying Blake thinks it's us that's doing it and we're not doing it. She has literally done nothing. This is just anti-Blake. And they just go on and on of them saying they are not doing it, but they're saying it to each other. That is hearsay. That is not admissible. And nor does it prove the truth of what you're saying. Just because you're saying you didn't do it doesn't mean you didn't do it. How many people go into an interrogation room and lie for 15 hours and then they finally tell the truth? They're like, oh, dang, you got me. You got me. Okay, I thought I could trick you after the 15th hour. I just got tired of it. They want us to believe that just because they're saying they didn't do it means they actually didn't do it, which is insane to me, okay? There was this email that says, I'm at TMZ, or I'm a reporter at TMZ. I'm reaching out to get a statement regarding some information. We are being told that there were at least 3 HR complaints filed against Justin Baldoni on the set of It Ends With Us. We wanted to see if the complaints were investigated and what the results were. And then they don't have an email going back, but more information going back and forth to their team. This one is actually to Leslie Sloan, which is on Blake's team, I believe. Happy to learn this in 2 hours. Melissa Nathan says, I told everyone to not do one thing, plant a seed, even speak to one reporter, even on background. Leslie Sloan said, me neither. Tried you. I need to chat. So again, trying to stay out of the text message. Again, it doesn't prove that, one, it doesn't prove that they're not the one planning the story. It's just them telling each other that they didn't plant the story. It doesn't really help. But what would have helped, like I said earlier, is if you tell me what you did do. We hired bots to do these certain things. They just said nice things about Justin. They said no bad things. These are an example of the things that they would say about Justin. That would prove the case to me. But just sending text messages back and forth to each other saying, we didn't do it and I told them we didn't do it, does not help your case, in my opinion. I don't think that helps. Y'all can let me know if y'all think I'm wrong. I don't care. But that, to me, that does not help your case. Okay, let's jump back in. To assert that plaintiffs orchestrated a premeditated smear campaign. And again, remember, Blake Lively had text messages from August 4th, August 5th of them saying, yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to do that. They never addressed those messages. Like, why are we not addressing? That would help me out. Address that message. And then I might believe you. Show me what your bots did and address those messages. Okay? Even a cursory investigation by the Times would have exposed the baseless nature of Lively's allegations and the lack of factual support for her narrative. Most troubling, however, it is the Times' deliberate omission of a critical player in this manufactured controversy, Stephanie Jones. Once Baldoni's and Wayfair trusted public relations representative, Jones not only had intimate access to the communication strategies and crisis management surrounding the film, but also played a pivotal role in leaking private communication, cite in the article. Her betrayal, driven by a quid pro quo arrangement with Lively, appears aimed at shielding herself while aligning with Lively to curry favor and secure opportunities. And if I'm correct, she also filed a lawsuit against them. This is an email from her that says, blank has been nice and fixed things for us in the past. I can give her a call. That this is nothing burger. And then she also said, left word for blank. Never mind. I already got that one. Then this was a Daily Mail reporter says, I'm currently working on a story surrounding recent rumors that there was a feud between ends with us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. They don't really go on to it. They're going to get into the scene where Blake claimed it was pornography. I think this is where it starts to look bad for Blake Lively, in my opinion. So the Times compounded the journalistic failures of uncritically advancing Lively's unsubstantiated claims for a sexual harassment against Heath and Baldoni. For example, the article based on Lively's CRD complaint sensationally alleges that Mr. Heath had shown Lively a video of his naked wife, and Lively's CRD complaint even labeling the footage as adult porn. This claim is patently absurd. The video in question was non-porn and recording of Heath's wife and baby during a home birth, a deeply personal one with no sexual overtone. To distort the benign event into a sexual misconduct is outrageous and emblematic of the length of which Lively and her collaborators are willing to go to defame plaintiffs. Now, I'm going to show y'all the picture. It's not corn-like. I would have to agree with them. But also, how would the New York Times have had this photo? This is a still of a video reference. Are you alleging that New York Times had this video and still posted what they posted? I'm a little sketched out about this picture, to tell you the truth, because are we sitting in the water that she just birthed the child in? I mean, I know y'all love each other and all of that. I hope it's new water. I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope they drained it and they put new water in it. Cause y'all can let me know if y'all in the middle. I just don't see what the benefits would be of sitting in birth water after the fact with the baby. Or maybe he was in there while she was I don't know. It seems weird. It seems weird, but I guess it's an intimate moment. So y'all can see it. It's not corn, but it doesn't show everything that was being shown in the video either. It's just a still. This is not the whole video. I don't think it really helps their case, but I do think it may show that maybe the rest of the nature of the video also was not corn-like or sexual in any way. The Times' failure to scrutinize these claims or even provide a balance. My thing is, you're not even accusing the Times of having this video. You're just saying, hey, look, this is a still from the video. Did the Times have this video when they made the article? I don't. Okay. The Times' failure to scrutinize these claims or even provide a balanced account of the events further underscores its role in amplifying Lively's falsehoods while abandoning its responsibility to truth and accuracy. The video was shown to Lively as part of a creative discussion in preparation for a birthing scene in the film. Heath informed Lively that his wife condoned his displaying of the video. Any suggestion that Heath engaged in the exhibition of corn or inappropriate content is false. Again, why does she need to see a birthing video? Was she giving birth in a bath in the movie? Because Blake has had 4 children of her own. So why would she need to see that video for inspiration? I don't get that point. Y'all can let me know. Why would she need to see that for inspiration? Adding to the sexual harassment narrative in the article's parroted accusations that both men repeatedly entered her makeup trailer and uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. What Lively and the article failed to mention is that Lively invited Baldoni into her trailer while pumping to work out their lines. I agree that this kind of looks bad on Blake Lively, but it doesn't prove that they did not enter at other times when she did not agree to it. So this is Blake Lively saying, this is Justin saying, Blake, I'm so sorry to hear you and the baby are sick. I know it's literally the last thing you needed right now on top of the tough week. I pray it comes and goes with mild symptoms and more than anything that he is okay. If you feel up to it, I'm here absolutely anytime and would love to check in. I know this week was a lot and I'm committed to making things run smoother across the board. Blake Lively says, our mistake, Molly did get the new pages at 11 p.m. last night. She didn't realize they were new, but new pages can always be sent to me as well, please. Blake Lively says, I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work on our line. So he said that she had invited him repeatedly while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. At this time, she's pumping, which is not breastfeeding, but it's similar, I guess. He said, copy, eating with the crew, and we'll head that way. She said, take your time. He says, I'm here, meet you, hit me up, I guess. Sorry, I'm just seeing this. And then they go over some more lines. So she has invited them into the trailer, even when she's doing these intimate things that she said she was uncomfortable with. But one time, just because she invited you one time while she was pumping and you took some time to get there, doesn't mean that you can always come in there. I get what he's trying to say. Oh, I'm proving this. And again, these are messages from Blake. So this, in my opinion, actually helps his case to undercut the sexual harassment claims that she's making against him. Likewise, the allegations that Baldoni inappropriately described Lively's character's attire as sexy is exaggerated and misleading. The text exchange between Baldoni and Lively show that Lively had insisted that her character clothing be much sexier. When Baldoni later used the word sexy, he was just responding to her creative input, not objectifying her personally. Lively set the tone that Baldoni heeded during the creative process. Blake Lively says, just text Ange this also. We'll show you both ways, but beanie is much sexier. It's the look, feels TV without, especially with a crop top in the snow. It justifies the rest of the skin and also is a girl I would check out walking down the street because it washes the effort off and off the rest of the look. He basically responds to that. And then they talk about some other stuff. So she does throw out the word sexy, but I don't know how you tie that text message into the actually being in person and saying it, but whatever. That's what he's going with. Also misleading, the article draws on Lively's assertion that Baldoni improvised wanting unwanted kissing and discussed his sex life. However, both the Times and Lively intentionally exclude that Lively refused to meet the intimacy coordinator to plan out the film's sex scene. I don't agree with this statement. I'm going to read the message to y'all, and I want y'all to let me know if y'all got the same thing he said. She refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator. Blanket statement. She just refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator. That is what, to plan out the film's sex scene. So he's making a blank statement that she never wanted to meet with the intimacy coordinator. Baldoni, in turn, was forced to meet with the intimacy coordinator alone and relay any suggestions to Lively separately. Again, I don't think the messages say that, but y'all can let me know. Notwithstanding Baldoni's reluctance, he and Lively would later sketch out the scenes together, absent the intimacy coordinator. As part of those creative discussions, Baldoni and Lively sought to personalize and develop their characters. In doing so, engaged in conversation about their individual experiences. The Times, taking Lively's CRD complaint as true, characterizes this discussion as an inappropriate attempt by Baldoni to talk about his sex life. It was not. More still, Baldoni consistently acted at the direction of the intimacy coordinator. These baseless accusations do not constitute the harassment. Justin Baldoni sends this to a female producer. This is the messages that he got with Blake, where he's claiming that she refused to do any coordination with the intimacy coordinator. Let me know if y'all think this is a refusal. Justin says, just hired intimacy coordinator who I love, all caps, will set you up to meet FaceTime with her next week for an intro. I will set up a time for you to meet or FaceTime her next week, is what he said. Blake Lively says, I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you, though. At what point? He then takes this text message, screenshots it, takes it, and he sends it to the female producer and says, just FYI, just wanted to tell you about this. Seems she doesn't want to meet the intimacy coordinator until we start, which may mess up the workflow, but I can still meet with her, of course. Okay. Female producer says, that's fine. If she doesn't want to meet her now, you'll just have to walk her through what you and the intimacy coordinator are thinking. She said she didn't want to do the FaceTime. That doesn't mean the intimacy coordinator doesn't need to come to set. That doesn't mean she never wants to meet her. That doesn't mean she doesn't want to meet her for any scenes. If this is the best you got, I don't agree with that one. Some of the stuff made her look bad. The breastfeeding made her look bad. The birthing video, made her look bad. But this is stretching it. This is stretching it all the way. I don't see where he got to that conclusion from that message, but it is. And apparently the female producer also got to that conclusion. They both cannot read a room, in my opinion. Despite his effort to craft a distorted narrative, the Times failed to address a glaring contradiction in Lively's CRD complaint. After the execution of the protection of the return to production agreement in November 2023, Lively herself acknowledges that the film was completed, marketed, and released safely and successfully. While Wayfair, Baldoni, and Heath disagreed with Lively's rationale for requesting the document, many of the provisions were already standard practice. They chose to comply for the sake of the film and to ensure Lively's comfort. I agree with them on this part. All of the rules that she wanted to put in place, they were very geared towards her. I said that in my last live stream, and oddly specific. Like, just make general rules. If you don't want them in your dressing room while you're undressing, just saying no meetings in the dressing room. That way you avoid it altogether of you being undressed in your meeting, in your dressing room, unless you agree to it. Why are we specifically saying while she's breastfeeding, while she's in a state of undress, while this, while that? Why is it just not no meetings unless I agree? That's really what it should have been. Let's see. Furthermore, she admits that her stated concerns were sufficiently addressed at that time. The admission directly undermines her allegation of retaliation and strips her claim of credibility. Without the fabricated smear campaign narrative propping up against the CRD complaint, Lively's retaliation claim collapses under her own contradictions, exposing it as yet another ploy to salvage her public image rather than pursue any legitimate grievance. The fact that Lively embarked on a hostile takeover of the production, strong arming Sony into blessing her with ultimate control, which I think all those agreements did kind of bless her with control, because she was like, unless I agree, unless I agree, unless I agree. I'm like, dude, you are not the producer. As they became increasingly frantic and unsettled by the usurpation of their roles, Baldoni remained resolute that they continue to take the high road and be proud of the beautiful baby they had all made together. Notwithstanding Lively waged war on Baldoni, weaponizing innocuous interactions from May and June 2023, long before there was any tension between them, to vilify and discredit him. At the time, Baldoni and Lively had a solid working relationship, and Lively expressed no unease around him. Only after the writer's strike had ended and filming was set to resume did Lively express any concern about the returning to set. In response, Wayfair and Baldoni agreed to all of Lively's demands. What I would say to contradict this for him saying, oh, I didn't notice that she was uncomfortable. She never made a statement about being uncomfortable. In his own messages, he wanted to basically harp on the fact that he had ADHD and he has a hard time reading social cues. But then he goes on to try to argue, oh, well, I didn't notice her having any issues. Well, you just told us that you had a problem reading social cues. Why don't we address that part? So it, like I said, comes off as whiny baby to me. It's very contradictory. Y'all can let me know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. We got the votes going up. We got 44 votes. Shout out to the BriHive. Keep letting me know what y'all think, and we're going to get to it once we get to the end of this, which is long forever. And then we go into this other part of him talking to his editors, saying that Lively's taking over. And they're just going back and forth, texting each other about how she sucks and how she just keeps trying to take over. Going on, I'm not going to read all of these, basically saying Lively sucks and she is trying to basically impose herself on being a producer in the film. Okay. And then also she is the one that ended up, according to Justin Baldoni, making the final cut of the actual movie. They put them up against each other. They said that it weighed more, the audience weighed more in favor of Baldoni's cut, but she basically said, according to Baldoni, Blake Lively basically said, I'm not going to agree for the movie to be released unless you release my cut. I find that hard to believe, but that's what they get at. Then they write a letter to their team basically saying that Blake Lively has participated in the production of the movie, so much so that she should now be named as a producer, and they're basically happy that she is going to also be named as a producer on the show because she helped so much. What she's going to use that later for is to show how pleasant she was in the set, that they made her a producer. She helped pick clothing. Baldoni explains that she's complaining about clothing. She's complaining about this. She's wanting to also change scenes. Remember, she accused him of changing the sex scenes and the kissing scenes and everything to things that she didn't agree with. But he's also accusing her of changing the scene without really discussing, adding lines, changing lines, doing whatever the heck she really felt like doing in the case. So I'm sorry, in the movie. And so I'm just trying to scroll to some more relevant things in this. They basically said she was doing a hostile takeover, and then they get into the parties and jurisdiction. I'm going to go ahead and skip down because all the facts in the rest of the body of this, it goes on to basically repeat everything that we just read. So we're not going to reread it again. That's why this complaint is 80 pages. And like I said, very, very repetitive. So I just want to skip down to the portion where what am I skipping down to? I am skipping down to the portion where they respond to the New York Times. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because remember, this is a lawsuit against the New York Times. We have been talking about Blake Lively the entire time and how she sucks and how she's making up all these lies. And she's the one that brought the media against her. And now she's trying to claim that it's Justin Baldoni's fault, that the media is against her. And he also sexually harassed her. Let's jump down. All these text messages are the same thing over and over. I don't want to scroll and make y'all dizzy. So let's try to find it. Oh, where are we at? It's literally all the way at the end. So many text messages. Okay. We're going to get there, y'all. Make sure y'all are voting. If y'all haven't already, do hit the like button. It helps me out in the live stream. And so I was right earlier. Justin Baldoni's team did respond before the article was actually posted. They point out in the beginning of this complaint that they didn't even wait till their deadline. But what he forgets to admit in the beginning of his complaint, which I would describe as self-serving, as all complaints are, right? He didn't specify that they had already responded within that 45 or that 14-hour window. They responded. So what was the point of even waiting to 12 o'clock? They said respond by 12 o'clock or we're going to post it. They responded by 12 o'clock. So to me, it sounds like they gave them the opportunity to be heard. Let me see where I was at. Let's get into this part. So here we go. I didn't mark this spot like 15 times. Okay. The Times publishes a false and defamatory article based on Lively administrative complaint. The New York Times is one of the most widely read newspapers in the United States. Once upon a time served as a primary newspaper of record, publishing all the news that fits to print. The Times was considered a paragon of journalistic integrity and excellence, the gold standard for journalism in the United States, and a highly respected news outlet internationally. For generations, the paper's historical influence on the socio-political and cultural life of the country and its institutions could not be overstated. Americans long relied on the Times as a source of accurate and balanced news reporting. Viewpoint-based commentary was expressly excluded from the news stories. Indeed, for years, Americans grew to expect that the Times would, as legendary Times executive editor A.M. Rosenthal said, tell it straight, or in other words, simply report the news without embellishing or driving it. For much of its storied history, whether it was the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War, the Watergate, or other political and cultural issues, through its objective and investigative reporting and the diverse views presented on the op-ed pages, the Times strove to inform America through a high journalistic standard, accuracy, and fairness. The publication has won far more Pulitzer Prizes than any other media company in U.S. history, with its first being awarded more than 100 years ago. But over the last 20 years, so you are acknowledging that their MO has changed. Over the last 20 years, Times reporters have been more frequently veered spectacularly from their own journalistic guidelines. As a result, it has become commonplace to find New York Times stories containing egregious factual errors or infected by bias. Such lapses have contributed to public distrust of the Times and a landscape where the partisan actor can cry fake news with some justification. So again, you are acknowledging that they are no longer the top tier news, just facts. They are now giving their opinions or leaning one way or another. I feel like any story, one person is going to say that you're leaning one way or another, whether it's because they have more facts or whatever it is. They are the ones talking to them. They're the ones telling the story. There's always, any story you tell is always going to lean one way or the other. I don't know of any real unbiased stories, right? But the New York Times still wields a power of influential megaphone in the media in greater society. It is therefore under a solemn obligation to do the work necessary to get its reporting right. As reporters of the Times well know, getting it wrong can lead to disastrous outcomes for story subjects, including financial, professional, and reputational ruin. The New York Times sets the narrative and tone for other news organizations, amplifying the impact of its mistakes. The instant case is emblematic of the Times having lost its way, as the facts here make plain that the Times failed to follow its own journalistic standards, rushed to judgment, and with careless disregard published a story accusing plaintiff of waging a smear campaign against Lively, causing a feeding frenzy based on demonstrably false premise. I don't agree that you demonstrated that it was false. I don't agree. I really don't agree. And not only are you saying, oh, it's not like they're saying they strayed away from what journalists are required to do. You're literally mad at them for changing their business model. You're mad at them for changing their business model, which you said over the last 20 years they've been changing their business model essentially. But you're mad because they changed it with your story. I don't like that for you. I really do not like that for you, Justin Baldoni. I don't like that for you. They're not straying away from what they're responsible for as being journalists, right? They're just changing their business model and they're giving opinions. Okay. At 9:43 p.m. on December 20, we already kind of went over this, but let's remind ourselves. Towhee requested plaintiff's response to its reporting regarding a crisis communication operations conducted on behalf of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfair Studios to protect their reputation and harm Blake Lively's as described in a legal complaint filed today. Towhee wrote in part, "We are seeking your response to the claims of retaliation through this PR campaign, and we would welcome the opportunity to talk to you on the record. Please offer any on the record comment as well as any other information you think we should know. Additionally, please notify us of any inaccuracies. We need to hear back from you by tomorrow by noon Eastern." So they gave them a deadline of noon Eastern the next day. And guess when Baldoni's team responded? At 2:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Plaintiff's legal representatives responded as follows. So before the deadline, they responded before the deadline, but they made a complaint that they posted it before the 12 noon deadline. They said respond by noon Eastern Time. You did, and they posted the story. They clearly didn't find whatever you had to say to be very helpful. So this is the response that New York Times got from Baldoni's team, okay? It is shameful that Miss Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Mr. Baldoni, Wayfair Studios, and its representatives as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film, interviews and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions. These claims are completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media. Wayfair Studios made the decision to proactively hire a crisis manager prior to the marketing campaign of the film to work alongside their other representatives with Jones' work employed by Stephanie Jones due to the multiple demands and threats made by Miss Lively during production, which included her threatening to not showing up to set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading to its demise during release if her demands were not met. It was also discovered that Miss Lively enlisted her own representative, Leslie Sloan, with Vision PR, who also represents Mr. Reynolds, to plant negative and completely fabricated false stories with the media, even prior to any marketing had commenced for the film, which was another reason why Wayfair Studios made the decision to hire a crisis professional to commence internal scenario planning in the case they needed to address. Now, we're going to go on. But I got thoughts. Was that one sentence? I don't think there's a period in there until I just stopped. What the hell? The representatives of Wayfair Studios still did nothing proactive nor retaliated, and only responded to incoming media inquiries to ensure balanced and factual reporting and monitored social activity. What is pointedly missing from the cherry-picked correspondence is the evidence that there were no proactive measures taken with media or otherwise, just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize, which is standard operating procedure with public relations professional. So, you said all of that to say, this is cherry-picked. It's wrong. We don't agree with them. What's missing is that they hired a crisis manager as usual. That's what you would normally do when you feel like something is going to go bad. And you're saying that they didn't do any proactive steps. They just basically was on defense. And that is at the very, very end of the paragraph. After a very, very, very long run-on sentence that spans multiple lines. What is pointedly missing from the cherry-picked correspondence is the evidence that there were no proactive measures taken with media or otherwise, just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize, which is standard operating procedure with the public relations professionals. That's what that was the answer to their question. So I must correct myself. I said they never answered the question. They didn't answer the question. Is that they wanted the article to say that Justin Baldoni and others adamantly denied that they took any proactive steps to smear Blake Lively's name. That's what they wanted it to say. Because there's evidence to support they took no proactive steps. Y'all let me know what that evidence was. What was the evidence? Are you saying that the evidence was literally Baldoni's team and others saying, we didn't plant that story. They're going to think we plant that story. We didn't plant it. We didn't plant it. No, that's not evidence. That's hearsay. That's you guys saying, no, we didn't plant that story. She's doing it to herself. We didn't plant it. That is not evidence. That is what would be evidence is Blake Lively saying, I know that they're not making these statements about me. However, I'm just going to tell the public that they are to basically make Justin look bad. Now, that would be evidence. That would be evidence. But you just going back and forth in your text messages with your team saying we didn't do this and we didn't do that is not evidence that they didn't take any proactive steps. Okay? And then they give us no specific examples. They gave them no specific examples. You responded timely. You took only 5 hours to respond. I'm not responding at 2 a.m. And I think the 21st was like a Saturday. Like, no, I'm not responding at 2 a.m. to your response. And then you're going to say, oh, well, they took too long to basically, they posted it before the deadline. They didn't say they were going to wait exactly to the deadline. They said respond by 12 p.m. They didn't say what they were going to do. They didn't say we're going to wait till 12 p.m. to post this, so please respond by then. They just said respond by 12 p.m. You responded at 2:16 a.m. So when they got into work at 8 o'clock in the morning, they already had the response. And it said a whole bunch of nothing but how offended you were. So this whole lawsuit, mind you, was against New York Times. And this little part that we just read was the only thing addressed towards New York Times, is that they should have fact checked harder and they should have known that the messages of him sending hearsay back and forth to his team, that should have been used as accurate evidence. That's like me dropping this water. I dropped it, right? And I'm going to tell y'all I didn't drop the water. No, I did not drop the water. And you need to take my word for it. Y'all just saw me drop the water. Just because I'm telling you that I didn't drop the water doesn't mean I didn't drop the water. That's not evidence. It's testimony and they can decide whether it's credible or not. But it doesn't prove that I didn't drop the water. What y'all gonna do if y'all got a case going against me? Y'all are gonna play this YouTube video and say, look, she held it up and told us she was about to drop the water. Then she dropped the water. And 0.3 seconds later, she told us she didn't drop the water. But we can all see she dropped the water. And we could hear it clunk on the table. So we know she dropped it. But I'm gonna get on the stand. I'm gonna say, Your Honor, I did not drop that water. I did not drop it. That is not me. And I didn't drop it. That's not water. That's not even water. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. Let me go ahead and finish it. Because here we go with the 10:11. At 10:11 a.m. on December 21st, 2024, the Times published the article, notwithstanding that the Times was made aware of the egregious defamatory allegations contained therein, it proceeded with the publication without further inquiry. Indeed, in its rush to publish a one-sided, unsubstantiated story on behalf of Lively, the Times got it dramatically wrong. The aftershocks have been disastrous for plaintiffs, and they now reluctantly and knowing the damage cannot fully be undone, bring this suit to hold the Times accountable for its egregious misfire. Again, reporting, freedom of press. They interviewed Lively. They gave you the opportunity to respond. Your response was that she's a liar, liar, pants on fire, and that there is evidence out there that we did not do those things. But you did not provide them with the evidence, that you did not review those, or that you did not do those things. You expected them to go through thousands and thousands and thousands of messages, which in your own words had sarcasm in them between you guys and your inside jokes that somehow these reporters were supposed to be able to pick up on. When you responded, why didn't you send your proof that those things are not true? We were being sarcastic. I hired this team to do this certain thing, and this is how we did it. We didn't put out any articles. We didn't put out that article. They could have named articles of what they didn't and didn't do, but they didn't. So they said this response is BS. You're just calling her a liar, liar, pants on fire with no evidence. We've gone through the text messages. It looks like you're admitting to putting these things out. That's how we interpreted it. We don't know your sarcasm. We don't know your jokes. This is what we read. Oh, you guys suck. You're doing more smear. You're doing more smear campaign. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and jump into the chats and see what people think. Let's see what the BriHive has to say about this goddamn lawsuit. Now, I agree. Some things in the lawsuit did make Blake look bad. She might not be able to prove her sexual harassment issues in certain instances, but it doesn't mean that she consented to it all times. And Justin Baldoni has also already admitted that he don't read social cues that good. So I don't think this really helps him that much. He does kind of poke some holes in her story, and then it will be up to the judge to decide who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. If y'all didn't vote, that's too late. Let's go ahead and get into the vote. The poll said, is Justin or Blake telling the truth? 34% says that Justin is honest. 13% says that Blake is honest. I don't think people believe Blake. And then 45% said the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And 8% says they are both liars, which was actually a very high contender in the beginning of the live stream, is just calling them both liars. The truth lies somewhere in the middle is the winner. And I would have to agree with that. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I think there's things that make Justin look bad. I think there's some things that make Blake look bad. But I think that even filing this lawsuit to attack the New York Times and just really focus on saying bad things about Blake Lively, I think it kind of proves her point. I do think it kind of proves her point, but then they get litigation privilege by putting this into a complaint. So I don't know. Y'all can let me know if I'm wrong. Y'all go ahead. I'm gonna end the poll on that note. We do have a super chat, so shout out to Kai. Thank you so much for the $13.99 super chat, saying he's using this lawsuit to defend his reputation she ruined. Last August, I remember seeing a video mentioning two different cuts of the movie, and from what I remember, his was favored. Yes, he did also put that, and I kind of skimmed over it in this complaint. They did put the two cuts up against each other, and according to his lawsuit, right, allegations and shade, he said that his fared better with the target audience that they were going with. But basically, Blake threw a fit. This is his words, right? A summarization of his words, that basically she threw a fit and basically she wouldn't promote the movie if they didn't go with her cut. So yes, you are right. I think the complaint, it doesn't help. They have freedom of press, First Amendment. I think this is going to get stricken down. I think this complaint is going to get stricken down. But he is right to defend his reputation, right? I don't think it helps his case, though. I really don't think it helps his case. Y'all can let me know if y'all differ in opinion. And we're gonna go ahead and go through the other chats. Again, thank you so much for the super chat. I definitely appreciate it. KDS says complaint first, but lawsuit after. Yeah, she filed the administrative complaint first, and then saying she filed a lawsuit, but I think Kimmy ended up finding when she actually filed the lawsuit. Oh, yeah, this is the comment. Kimmy Locker, member, moderator of the channel, paralegal consultant of the channel. Welcome back, Sam. Baldoni filed his lawsuit in LA on 12/31 at 12:46 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't know why Lively's complaint isn't signed or dated, but according to the docket, it was filed in New York on 12/31 at 6:41 p.m. So literally just a few hours, or maybe around the same. Yeah, okay, yeah, just a few hours after he filed his lawsuit, like 3 hours later, she took her complaint and just filed it. I'm going to assume it wasn't signed and didn't have like the caption and everything on it because they saw that he was filing a lawsuit. So they had to hurry up and file their lawsuit. Because I believe this is just a portion. This is just the administrative complaint put onto pleading paper, if I remember correctly. Sorry, Blake's was just the administrative complaint put onto pleading paper. Kimmy Locker says New York Times published an article on 12/21 in reference a legal complaint that she filed Friday, likely referring to the preceding administrative complaint, part of why people think they work together. Yes. And so that's what Justin Baldoni pointed out too. He said those administrative complaints are usually anonymous or confidential unless you agree unless you agree for it to be public or you leak it. And so Justin is accusing Blake Lively of leaking that complaint. Kristen DeFer says, this is like voting who is the a-hole and am I the a-hole? Exactly. Yes. I told you, I'm kind of against both of them. It seems very petty. If she was truly sexually harassed, remember, these are all allegations and shade. Nothing has been proven to be true or false. We can't always believe all people that come out and say things. As you guys just saw my water example, you can't believe everyone. But yes, it's basically like who's the a-hole, and I am in agreement with the chat. They both suck here. They both suck here. There's probably some truth to each story. Like I said, some of the text messages that Baldoni, I don't know how y'all want me to say Baldoni. I don't know how y'all want me to say it. Y'all said I was saying it wrong last time. I like Baldoni though. I think that sounds better. What was it? I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think he had some things that helped his case on the sexual harassment front. I don't think he had things that helped his case on whether or not they were planting stories or not, which is why they're suing freaking New York Times. Denny says, people have been acting crazy in your comments. You think somebody was talking about their mama with the way they've been acting? I know. I haven't even read all the comments on the last Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit that we did on Thursday, but I saw like some pop up. I'm like, what did I do to people? Like, we're literally just reading the complaint and I have thoughts. I can have thoughts, can I not? It's my channel, okay? Mr. Frosty said, I am biased towards her side, but that is because I think her hubby is such a fantastic human being. I love Ryan Reynolds. Like, when they came out saying bad things about him, I love his movies. Let me not say I love him. I don't know him like that. I love his movies and I think they're funny. But I was like, he's in drama? Because I didn't know all of this was going on. I don't follow these celebrities outside of lawsuits, okay? I don't follow celebrities outside of lawsuits. But I was like, he's in drama? No, not Ryan Reynolds. Like, what? No. Kimmy's trying to give me the pronunciation in the back. You know I'm not going to follow it. It's just going to confuse me more, okay? I'm not doing it. Miss Rossi, that is completely fine to be on her side because of Ryan Reynolds. I'm not mad at that. Buzzy Buzz, love the name, says, but why purposely exclude some text? I don't think it was purposely excluded. I think it was for the purpose of, one, that complaint was already 81 pages. We don't need every single thing in it. And two, those messages were very irrelevant to what was actually being talked about. And it makes sense to kind of condense it so that you can get to the point in the complaint. Remember, the complaint is not you proving all of the facts. You're just stating enough to state a claim, right? You don't want it to get dismissed. Once she goes into trial, then she'll have to show, the full text threat. Now, taking off the emoji is what he's accusing her of doing, of taking off the emoji. I think that's sneaky. I think that's bad. I don't think it really proves what he says it proves, but I do think it looks very deceptive. So it's just about being concise. It was already an 80-something page complaint. We didn't need to make it longer for her to talk about whether she was going to be sitting in traffic in the jungle. Like, we don't care about none of that. Demi D says, Blake made herself look bad during press. I do believe it was organic and JB's team didn't have to do much. The sexual harassment, though, I want to take serious. Now, I would say in my opinion, from reading Blake's complaint, okay, this is my opinion. These are my thoughts. Okay, thoughts. I think that he did originally hire the crisis management team to throw shots because he didn't address those other text messages where they were like, yeah, we're going to do this, but I can't put it down in writing. But what they did put down in writing is, oh, we didn't leak that. We didn't put it in there. Okay, how do we know you're not the one actually doing it, putting it in there, and then texting each other and saying, I didn't do that. And then every time you put, I didn't do that, it actually means you did do it. Clock that T. I don't know if that's T, but maybe. We don't know. We don't know because y'all so sarcastic and y'all got jokes. We don't know if y'all got code language in there, right? But I agree that some of it was organic, but I wouldn't put it past them that they put some of it out there and then like kind of threw the ball and hit their hand. But I don't know because I'm not them and I don't know what really happened. We're just covering documents. Jimmy D says there's allegedly a video of JBS and not just harassing Blake. I doubt its validity, but best side with a possible victim, in my opinion. I think that she's going to have to prove it, especially because they do have some stuff going against her in this complaint. I don't think that her inviting him to come and do lines with her while she was pumping necessarily shows that she was comfortable, breastfeeding in front of him while they're sitting there arguing with him. I don't think it means that she consented to it every single time. And from my understanding of for pumping, for breast milk, you're usually covered up. So it's not too much of a distraction. You usually have like a bigger shirt over you and you're still covered up. So I don't think that in itself is consent to them to always be around her when her boobs are out. I don't agree with that. So I do think that there's some truth to it. I don't know about a video, but I do think that there's some truth of them being inappropriate because, I mean, I'm not even gonna go into that. In your workplace, you might not think something is bad, but like, I don't know if any of you have ever been through a sexual harassment training in California, literally looking at somebody too long. And if it makes them uncomfortable, you're going to be written up for sexual harassment. Like those sexual harassment trainings are insane in California. It's pretty much anything you do. Calling somebody pretty. Oh, you look pretty today. And if it makes them uncomfortable, that's sexual harassment in itself. So I agree with you that she probably will be able to succeed on sexual harassment, even if they said something in passing and something that you might not have found offensive. If they did find it offensive, they're probably going to find it with some type of sexual harassment, which is sad. It's sad, right? Christopher says, Demi D says, I agree. Christopher at Demi D and says, I agree. I think everyone should be taking the SH seriously, not take it as absolutely fact since it hasn't been proven / disproven yet, but take it into consideration since it is alleged. I can agree with that. And like I said, I think those two messages kind of help him, but I don't think it says, okay, because she invited me into her trailer one time while she was pumping, that means she's consented to me seeing her vajayjay, right? I don't think that's what that means. And like you said, you don't read social cues. I don't think it's a good argument for that particular thing. I think the whole home birthing thing, that one, she's probably going to lose on that part. But again, like I said, you can call somebody pretty and it makes them uncomfortable. It could be considered sexual harassment. His wife being naked in a baby pool could be considered sexual harassment while they're trying to encourage Blake to be naked in a scene that she didn't think she was going to be naked for. So I do think that she's going to succeed on a lot of the SH and SA claims. Kristen first says to Demi D, I think some people forget about the SH claims because of all the bad press and drama over the alleged smear campaign. Yes, and that is what we were mostly focusing on today. Demi D says to Kristen yeah, that's why I think it was a mistake to include the smear campaign, but I get that it ties into retaliation from the alleged SH. And I don't think, and okay, his thing is, oh, she didn't express any of this before the writer's strike, but it had to be bothering her if she came back after the writer's strike and said that these things were bothering her. I do think that the things that she had them agreeing to was oddly specific. I think they should have been more generalized, and I think it would have made more sense for her if she would have did it that way. But on top of him saying he doesn't read social cues well and her saying she was uncomfortable with something in California, anything you're uncomfortable with that has to do with you could be considered sexual harassment. That's what I took away from my sexual harassment training. Y'all can tell me if y'all took something else away from y'all's. And G. Merriweather says they did not do anything. That is the problem. As far as Justin Baldoni's team did not do anything, they said that they had comments go forward. And if they didn't ever have to use the team, they could have said that. No, we never even used the team. We hired it for to cover ourselves, but we never ended up having to use it. They could have said that. Christopher first says, yeah, it's not enough to prove they weren't involved. Yeah, no, it's literally them saying, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. You know, I don't know the words right now, but y'all know what song I'm trying to sing. It's like, I saw you. Exactly. Christopher, it wasn't me. I saw you. You can't tell me it wasn't you. It was you. Christopher says to Demi D, yeah, if her allegations are true, it's really messed up. I just don't know how she would be able to prove it was in retaliation or even in response to her complaints. I don't know if she alleged retaliation. Let me go check real quick. Did she allege retaliation? Am I even in her complaint? No, you are not, Bree. Let's get it. Yeah, she does. She does allege retaliation. So, yep, that's there. She'll have to be able to prove that. Let's see. MJ Merriweather says PIC is part of the home birth experience. Yes, and it was a still of the video, but we don't know what happened before or what was going on before that or after that, right? We don't know if she was spread eagle in that tub, right? This lady, Blake Lively, has given birth herself. Why does she need to see somebody else spread eagle giving birth in the tub? And my understanding is that her birth scene was not in the pool setting. So I don't see the point of showing that to her, right? Kristen, especially if she didn't ask for it, and especially if it was just kind of like, hey, look at my wife's vagina. Oops, sorry. I don't know if I could say that on YouTube. Kristen first says, I don't care that it's not sexual in nature. I don't want anyone suddenly showing me a pic of someone's home birth, LOL. And so it wasn't actually just the picture. It was the actual video. They just took a still for the purpose of the complaint. So it was the actual video. That's what I said. Especially if I'm not expecting it, I didn't ask for it, and I've already birthed. What makes you think I need to see somebody else birthing in order to act out birthing? I done did it 4 times. Leave me alone. So I agree. And like I said, just calling her pretty, sexy. He said sexy to her. Could be considered sexual harassment. Demi D says is all very messy. It very much so is. Christina first says, if my coworker or supervisor did that, I'd be like, what the F is wrong with you? Yeah, like, what are you doing? And it seems like she did say that in that moment. So it's not like they didn't know. And he did end up apologizing, but it doesn't take away the fact that you did it, right? And that also may suggest a kind of inappropriate behavior throughout the set. And sometimes you say stuff, like I said, that you don't even realize is going to be offensive to anyone else. Can we take down the big block banner with Justin Baldoni? Thank you. I didn't know if I was making sense. Page W says, no, the point is New York Times didn't do their due diligence and get Justin's side of the story before releasing such heinous allegations on the giant platform. They did. We just read what his opinion was. He didn't give them any examples. He didn't say what. He just said, no, we didn't do anything proactive. What the hell does that mean? And there's evidence to show that we didn't do anything proactive. Where's the evidence? So I don't agree with that statement, Page W. They did respond. They did get his answer. And the answer was, she's a liar, liar, pants on fire. And y'all suck. How dare you try to release this? If somebody wrote me a note saying, how dare you believe her and try to release this, I would ignore them too. Yeah, they had an opportunity. He failed at his opportunity, in my opinion. Zealous Boo says, catching up. I think he did do some SH, which he admitted to, but did he do all of it? Don't know. Was she a terror to work with? Maybe, but don't know. Did he do a smear campaign? Not enough info. That's what I would say. As far as some of the SH, I do think that she gets some on that. I think she's going to win on a lot of that. Like I said, her allowing you to come in one time when she was pumping, just because you have text messages of it, and say, oh, every time she agreed for it. I don't think that's going to help your case. The still video, I think it does take away the sexual nature, but also we don't see what happens before that and after that. And you're showing me naked people, and I don't want to see naked people, nor did I ask to see naked people, nor did I say I needed inspiration for naked people giving birth. And I do think that especially guys can say things that are inappropriate that maybe they don't really mean as inappropriate, or maybe it wouldn't be offensive to a guy saying it, but it might come off as offensive to a woman, especially if you're talking to a married woman as well. So was she a terror to work with? I didn't really cover a lot of that on the complaint. I kind of skipped over it because it was mostly towards the middle where it was kind of repeating everything else, and I didn't want to go through that, where the husband had to jump in, which I said on my last live stream. If someone's being mean to me or making me feel uncomfortable, I would expect my husband to yell at them. So I'm not mad at Ryan Reynolds for that at all. You are supposed to take your spouses back, even when they're wrong. You take their back, and then you tell them about themselves later if they were wrong, right? So with that, it does sound like she was probably a terror to work for, or work with. It sounds like she was demanding, but I don't think it justifies all the other stuff that went on. And did they do a smear campaign? I don't know. I just don't think that the messages back and forth saying they didn't do it means that they didn't do it. And they don't address the other messages that Blake put into her administrative complaint of hiring the crisis manager. What was the original intent? And then admitting that the person that leaked these messages to Blake Lively was someone who worked for them. So that person would have known the inside jokes. They would have been able to point that out, right? So I'm leaning more towards, yes, there was a smear campaign, but I also think that some of the stuff was organic. That's my opinion on it. Zelos Boo says, there are just so many questions. I think each experienced different events differently and reacted that way. And now it is one big mess. I agree. I think the chat got it right, and that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Kristen the First says to Zelos Boo, yeah, I can see how some incidents could have been a misunderstanding, which they could have just communicated with one another, but just didn't. Now it's a bit a show. Yeah. And it sounds like they did communicate some of the uncomfortabilities, and they did apologize for it. But at the same time, it doesn't then negate that you did it. Like, you can shoot someone and say, oops, I didn't mean to do that. But the ramification, you still shot them. Like, they're still shot, whether you meant to do it or not. So she could still complain about it as being like sexual harassment and everything. Kimmy Locker says, agree to Zelos Boo. As they say, there's three sides to every story: his side, her side, and what objectively happened. And that's where it's going to come into the witnesses coming in, which Blake Lively sounded like she had a lot of witnesses that she's going to be willing to call, while Baldoni is just going to call his own team. I don't think it's going to be helpful. I don't think calling your own team, who you conspired with to hire the crisis management team, is going to help you. I think it's going to make you look like you're not that trustworthy. I think she's going to succeed on her claim on a lot of the stuff. Maybe not everything, but a lot of the stuff. But I agree, Kimmy, this is her side, his side, and what happened. The truth lies somewhere in the middle is what I painted it as today. We're calling you Sue. Says, it's crazy how many women will defend the director creep unless I'm missing something. Well, who's defending him? Who's defending him? Just Stacy says, are you talking about like in the comments? Just Stacy says, I agree, the coordinator should still be on set. And who wants to work when not paid? Yes, exactly. So they're like, oh, I'm going to set you up. I guess she was getting paid like a lump sum for her work on the movie. But either way, it's like, oh, I'm going to set you up with a meeting or a FaceTime next week. No, I'll just meet her on set. What I got from Blake's message was, I'll just meet her when we get there, versus needing to meet her before or meet him, whoever it is, before or after. I thought that was weird to just say, oh, she doesn't want to meet with the coordinator at all. It's almost like a plot so that she didn't get the opportunity to have the coordinator. She didn't say that she didn't want the coordinator there. I did not get that from that message at all. Zello Spoo says, I need independent witnesses who aren't associated with either. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Blake sounded like she was going to have some witnesses that she can call that also experience inappropriate behavior from Baldoni and the others, right? Baldoni only has his team who he worked with to hire these people to do this crisis management to say, no, we didn't do that. You already told us that the upside down emoji meant sarcasm to y'all. How do we know y'all didn't plan other thing? When we put something out there, we're going to say, I didn't do that. They're going to think we did that. We're going to just deny everything in the text messages. That way we have proof that we're not doing it. We don't know if that's part of the contract. We need independent witnesses, or who were other people who supposedly filed complaints? Did they file complaints that vanished, or were they never filed? It doesn't sound like they actually filed complaints to the management. It sounds like they just talked to them about it. And it seemed like Baldoni and Heath actually apologized, or at least Heath actually apologized when it was brought to his attention that he made her feel uncomfortable. They both they both then signed off on the agreement once they realized they were making her uncomfortable. And even she said that there was no more uncomfortable moments after they signed off on the agreement. So I almost wonder where they just was kind of being dumb and didn't really not being able to read social cues or whatever. And then they were able to correct the behavior. But like I said, it doesn't then negate the fact that those things happen. So she can still complain about it, right? Zillow Spoo says, did the complaints just never happen? I think they communicated it to people, but they weren't like written complaints. Just Stacy says, there is definitely a need for more evidence from other people and sources. Yep, that's going to be how she's going to be able to prove her case. Zillow Spoo says, yeah, if they wanted more time, they should have said, we need more time to properly respond. Please give us until XX time to respond. Yep, exactly. Please do not post. There are several inaccuracies. We will be providing evidence to you within this amount of time. If you post, we will be suing. Essentially, cease and desist, right? And we already read this super chat, but thank you again for the super chat saying he's using the lawsuit to defend his reputation. She ruined last August. I remember seeing a video mentioning 2 different cuts of the movie, and from what I remember, his was favored. Again, we already discussed that. Yes, that is what he is alleging in his complaint, but we'll have to see once more evidence comes out. Zillow Spoo says, I agree that he's using this to defend himself. I do. I think he is definitely using it to defend himself, but I don't think it's helping. I really don't think it's helping. Kai says, I think he's allowed to if he actually didn't do anything. I mean, I would try to defend myself too, but I think the New York Times is the wrong target. I think this gets slapped down under the First Amendment. And if I believe he's suing in California, I think this gets slapped down. Freedom of press. Like, I don't know. They don't have to agree with you. They don't have to tell your side of the story. It's their company. So I do think that this gets slapped down. And I do think he's welcome to defend himself. He has a side, she has a side, and he's telling his side, but he's basically like, you shouldn't believe her side. You should believe my side only. And I don't think that's working for him too good. Kristen Affair says, Bree didn't drop the water. It was the force of gravity. Case closed. Exactly. If y'all want to believe me, okay? Paige W says, good thing it isn't Justin's job to prove he didn't do it. It's Blake's job to prove Justin and his team did do it. Exactly. All Blake has is her out of context screenshots and her flimsy allegations. Well, she actually said that she has a couple of witnesses that are going to be willing to come forward. So I think if she has those witnesses that come forward, she's going to be able to prove her case. And then the burden is going to shift onto Justin's team. I don't think he gets this dismissed. I really don't. Kimmy Locker says to Page W, that's true in Lively's lawsuit against Baldoni, but in this lawsuit against New York Times, it'll be his job to prove they acted with actual malice since he is a public figure, and they're basically alleging defamation, right? So that is true. Good point, Kimmy. He's a public figure. I don't think he'll be able to show it, especially like with his response, not saying, hey, don't file it or don't post this. We have some evidence that we want to provide to you ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Since they didn't do that, I'm like, I don't think they're going to be able to prove their case. And then they go into like invasion of privacy and all kinds of stuff, but I don't know about that. I agree. I think it gets slapped down. It's First Amendment. It is First Amendment, clearly. And it's like he's trying to clear his name, but in my opinion, it just makes him look bad. Zillow Spoo says, regarding the emoji, apparently some extraction software programs don't extract emojis. So Blake Lively's extraction copy may not have had them, whereas he can take screenshots of the actual phone. That is also true. Good point. Good point. Oh, sorry, I didn't pull it up. That is a good point. I didn't realize that. Kai says, or thank you again for another super chat, $27.99. Definitely appreciate it. Says, love the channel. I think you have via hard timer believe in it, but anybody who was following the smear campaign feels like it was organic. She has absolutely terrible interviews. I think this time you should check. I did not follow the smear campaign. I don't follow celebrities other than if I am doing a lawsuit kind of things. I don't have time. I really don't have time to cover everything. So I do think that some of it was organic. But I don't think that you just hire a crisis management team just to not do anything. But I can agree based on what I've read, what I've seen so far, that some of it was organic. She probably does interview bad. She probably did say some, tone deaf things, but I also believe that she's going to be able to succeed on the sexual harassment stuff. And just because she is interviewing bad does not mean that the sexual harassment didn't happen, if that makes sense. But thank you very much for loving the channel, and thank you very much for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Kai says, not saying he's 100% right, by the way. Yes, exactly. I agree with you. I think each of them have good parts to their story. And I think each of them are going to succeed on different parts of their story. I don't think that his idea of evidence supports that the New York Times should have believed him over Blake, right? Nor did he provide any evidence. He just said the whole article is inaccurate. That's basically what their response is. The whole article is inaccurate. We didn't do anything proactive. And mind you, that is the very last sentence in their response. If I was the reporter, I would have ignored that too. I was like, this is their response? All right, whatever. Let's go ahead and post it. I would have done the same thing. Solo Spoo says, I think video is definitely sexual harassment. The video of the home birth. It's showing an unrequested, unwanted video of people in undress. It's not appropriate in a work environment without consent. Also, I don't want to see coworkers' vids. And again, she didn't ask for inspiration to our knowledge. So why are you giving her this inspiration, especially when she's a woman that had birth? I can understand if she wasn't a woman that had birth or that has given birth, and you thought maybe she wanted to see it, but you're supposed to ask. You can't just show people naked. You can't do that. Doodle Noise, member of the channel, welcome back, saying, when Justin Baldoni was creepy, he has a responsibility to read social skills when he shouldn't cross lines, like don't show your wife's neck and birth video or birth to me. I think that was Heath that did that. But also, yes, he's the producer. He's literally the producer. They're supposed to have these type of trainings in place. They're supposed to have these type of safeguards in place. Yeah, you're being weird. I would have to agree with that. He's being weird. He definitely needed some more training. And it does sound like, I said, at least Heath sounds like he has apologized for things. And I think they kind of corrected their behavior after she kind of pointed these things out. But again, it doesn't erase that it already happened and she's allowed to still sue about it. Diddle Noise says, Blake gave birth 4 times before he told her what's normal for giving birth. He's an A. Yeah, and that's what I was like, how you gonna tell her what's normal for giving birth? And she gave birth 4 times. And she probably knows more people and has conversed with more people that has given birth than you. The only person that you probably know their experience in giving birth is your wife. Like, you're not just talking up to your friends, your female friends, about their birth experience. I highly doubt that. That's something more that moms would do. I wouldn't even have that conversation with people unless I'm getting ready to give birth myself or have given birth myself. So I agree. Why would she need that inspiration? And why would you tell her what's normal for women and you're not a woman? Doodle Noise says, I agree with you about the smear campaign. I think it was both. I think part of it was they put some stuff out there. I can't let that go. I think they put some stuff out there, but I do think there was a lot of organic stuff too. MB says, who will go against the power though? The crew basically have been chosen between Justin versus Hollywood and continue to have a career. That's the risk you run in Hollywood. And I mean, he's defending himself. Even though he's going against the power, right? Zolo says, but I think the purpose was to get it slapped down and still get out his side. Smart. That could be his purpose. That probably is his purpose. It is going to get slapped down, in my opinion. And he didn't sue her first, so she couldn't say, see, he's retaliating. Yeah. And I didn't realize that her actual complaint was not filed until after his complaint was filed, which was confusing because it seemed like the stories about hers came out way before the stories about his. But I guess, like they said, the complaint was leaked from the administrative, and maybe that's why the copy that I have doesn't have like the stamp for New York and everything. Kimmy Locker says to Zealous Boo, agreed, because she hadn't filed anything he could reply to yet, and he didn't know how long the admin process would take, but responding in the press wouldn't have litigation privilege. Exactly. So he responded in a lawsuit, so then he gets litigation privilege. That is probably the move that he made. But before we started the live stream, I didn't realize she filed after him. MB says Ryan is power. Stephanie Jones is power. Sony WME are power. Justin is a nobody compared to them. He can't win. I don't think the truth will come out. I don't know if it's necessarily the truth. I think he hired a crisis management team for a purpose. Whether they intentionally put stuff out or didn't, I don't think bringing your team in to say, look, we didn't put that out is going to make anyone believe that they didn't put it out. Especially when they hired the team specifically for Blake's behavior. So I don't know, but I agree. All those people are powerful. He's going to try to stand up for himself. I think he's still losing Blake Lively's lawsuit, though. Zillow Spoo says to MB, I can see that. Hopefully the fact that people will be called in for a court case will ease that problem in that they had to tell the truth in court. Hopefully people get in court and lie all the time. JG Lowe says, I disagree with the sexual harassment. She introduced the word sexy because she was choosing the wardrobe and she used the word in the meetings. I don't think that then allows you, I don't think that then qualifies for consent to everything. She's talking about the actual wardrobe, but he said you would look sexy in this. I think that those are two different things. Like that outfit on the rack is sexy is a lot different than you are sexy. This will make you sexy. And forgive me if I'm giving the wrong quote, but my understanding is that he was referring directly to her versus the actual clothes. While she was referring to the clothes. Jajilo says she didn't complain at the time of the occurrence. She sued after she didn't get her way in owning the rights to the movie. I thought that they did. Oh no, she got added as a producer. I don't know. That's gonna have to come out. I don't know everything about that. Okay. Kai says he will be suing her, by the way. I'm sure he will. Hopefully he just makes it a counterclaim. It sounds like they're already in two different courts. I don't think we need any more lawsuits filed in this, okay? I think he just needs to do a counterclaim against her if he is going to sue her. Because he's also going to say, okay, well, she's defaming me and saying these things. I think it's going to be hard, though, because now she has litigation privilege in saying the things that she said. So I think it'll be interesting. I don't know what he's gonna sue her about. Maybe breach of contract, maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did sue her. So that is all I have. That is literally all I have for the live stream. Thank you for everyone that voted in the live stream to let me know what your thoughts were. That the truth is somewhere in between. I don't think either one of them are absolutely accurate. I don't think either one of them are just gong-ho telling the truth. I think I agree with everyone in the chat that there's her truth, his truth, and the truth. Objectively the truth, right? And his retaliation against New York Times and saying, why did you believe her and not me when you sent a run-on sentence, a 2-sentence email, one of which was a very long run-on sentence, explaining why you think that New York Times and Blake Lively is bad because they are spreading lies, but you didn't tell them what the lies were. You didn't say, hey, don't post this or I'm going to sue you because this is lies and it's defamation. None of that stuff, right? So I just don't see him succeeding in the New York Times one. I think that he'll have some things to knock down some of Blake Lively's allegations. And if you weren't here a little bit earlier in the stream, it's really, really easy to qualify for sexual harassment in the workplace. And that's what she's suing over. She's suing over workplace sexual harassment, which is really, 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 and you're talking about in California especially, or no, I guess she sued in New York, so I don't know what their rules are there. But in California, it's really easy. Like you can say, you look pretty today. And she don't want you to say she looked pretty. Sexual harassment. Leave me alone. I don't want you to call me pretty. Right? As long as it makes them feel uncomfortable. It's subjective, not objective. So, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you, everyone, for joining the live stream. I will see y'all all on the next live stream, which I don't know when that will be. It's either going to be tomorrow or Thursday. I will let y'all know. I will post a live stream post and let y'all know. And I will see y'all all on the next